It might help to restart the computer, but then I'm wondering whether it would take you more than 4 minutes. But since you're later, I don't know.
No, I'm not talking about logging out of the computer completely. I'm
Yes.
just talking about logging out of this one and then rejoining.
Yes, let me just 1 second. No. Yes, apparently if you leave and you come back, you might be able to have the camera on. So you could try that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. And I think we are waiting for Her Excellency, Miss Abrahams. Is she connected? Your Excellency?
The Department of Communications and Digital Technologies, Mrs. Stella Ndabeni-Abrams is connected. I'm working on my camera now.
Very good. Yes, we cannot see you, but can you try the camera function if it's working, please?
Yes, you're gonna see me soon.
I cannot see you. Mm-hmm. Sì, sono tutti lì. No, sono tutti lì. Jide, were you able to rejoin us? Jide?
Yes, you can see me now, I'm sure, because I can see myself.
Yes, I can see you. Yes, wonderful. Yes, wonderful. Maybe you just need to move a little bit the computer because so that we can see you. Very good. Excellent. I can see you.
Good.
Good morning, good evening, and welcome to our UNDESA Capacity Development webinar on leveraging ICTs and digital government for innovative solutions to address the COVID-19 pandemic responses in Africa. My name is Adriana Alberti, and I'm in charge of the Program Management and Capacity Development Unit from the Division of Public Institutions and Digital Government of UNDESA. I would like to welcome all our distinguished panelists and speakers, and of course, the audience from the region and from around the world. As of today, we have about 300 registered participants from 70 countries, with more than half of the participants from the African region. We also have a very rich agenda today and a group of excellent speakers. Before we get started, let me go through a few items so that you know how to participate in our event. We would like to make sure that this is an engaging and lively event where we expect many questions from the audience. The webinar will be recorded and live streamed on the UNDESA Facebook page. Participants also have the opportunity to ask questions through a Q&A function on WebEx and also on the chat on Facebook. And we have gathered a number of questions from the registration process that the participants have shared with us. There will also be an online discussion board on UNDESA UNPOG's website to facilitate continued discussion after this webinar. I would also like to inform everyone that the presentations and bios will all be posted on the UNDESA UNPOG website, and also a final report with the key messages. And also please note that you can customize the viewing option by clicking the button on the top right corner of your screen. I would also like to ask our distinguished panelists to remember to unmute themselves when I invite them to speak. I would now like to begin the webinar. This is the second webinar. The first one focused more on the overarching governance challenges, and this one will be focusing more on digital government and innovative solutions. So we will now begin the opening session, and it is my great pleasure to introduce Ms. Maria Francesca Spatolizano. She is the Assistant Secretary General for Policy Coordination and Interagency Affairs of the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs. She will deliver opening remarks. ASG, Ms. Spatolizano, you have the floor.
Thank you, Adriana, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. Mr. Anson Sune of the African Union Development Agency, Mr. Joseph Olubengadada, the Vice President of the African Association for Public Administration and Management in West Africa, and Ms. Christine Sund for Mr. Andrew Rugege. She is the Senior Advisor for Africa in the ITU. Excellencies, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to welcome you to the Capacity Development webinar on leveraging ICT and digital government for innovative solutions to address the COVID-19 pandemic responses in Africa. This webinar will focus on digital government and innovative solutions to address the COVID-19 pandemic. As you know, many countries have effectively deployed ICT and digital government tools to provide services, particularly in the health and education sectors. ICTs are also used to ensure business continuity and to deliver basic services. African governments are exploring every means to leverage ICTs and digital government for innovative solutions to address this pandemic, ranging from sharing information, engaging people, and establishing effective multi-stakeholder partnerships, so to increase the resilience of their healthcare systems. And in other regions, innovation plays a key role in responding to this pandemic as well, like in Africa. So this is the situation we are in. Yet, despite the significant progress in internet connectivity, and especially the mobile broadband penetration in many African countries, there still exist many challenges in digital government transformation. These challenges include digital divides between the rich and the poor, and in particular between the urban and rural regions, low affordability of internet services for low-income groups in the society, lack of digital literacy and skills of citizens, especially in vulnerable groups, and also lack of digital capacity in government institutions. Other significant challenges include how to effectively safeguard cybersecurity and build e-resilience to ensure business continuity for digital services due to the massive surge in online traffic and possible crashes and slowdowns. And another important policy challenge is that of privacy. and personal data protection. People are increasingly worried about data breaches and misuse of personal data for unjustified purposes. Now, while these challenges are many, so are the opportunities. African countries can take advantage of the pressure this crisis puts on all of us to review existing laws and regulations to foster ICTs and to promote a digital government-based innovation ecosystem. This is an incentive to also further promote digital inclusion by bridging the digital divides and by improving internet accessibility and affordability. And we can look into how best to protect privacy and personal data by instituting data governance mechanisms and develop digital economy strategies, which in turn can facilitate innovations, foster social inclusion, and accelerate the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the African Union Agenda 2063. Sharing of good practices, strategies, and lessons learned are essential in bolstering government capacities for digital government transformation. Through this webinar, I hope that you will gain new insights on how national governments are leveraging ICTs and digital government to address COVID-19. We at the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs, DESA, are closely monitoring the economic and social impacts of the crisis, and we stand ready to support member states in pursuing sustainable and resilient recovery from this pandemic. I wish you a fruitful discussion and a successful webinar, and I thank you for your attention. Over to you, Adriana.
Thank you very much, ASG Ms. Patolizano, for your insightful opening remarks. I would now like to invite Mr. Anson Sune, and he's the Policy Officer Monitoring and Evaluation of the African Union Development Agency, NEPAD, to deliver his opening remarks. Mr. Nsune, you have the floor, and please unmute yourself.
Thank you very much, Adriana. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Your Excellencies, distinguished participants and panelists, and everyone else who's participating in this. Let me just say all protocols observed. I'd like to thank the moderator and also the first speaker for providing the context for this discussion today. But firstly, let me convey the greetings from our CEO, Dr. Ibrahim Mayaki, who would have loved to be here today to speak to you, but due to other competing, engagements at the office, he is not available to deliver the speech. Similarly, also our director in the knowledge management and program evaluation, Mr. Tara Kebe. And I think for us is just to convey our thanks as well to the organizers, UN DESA, but also the other participating organizations who have made this possible today. The CEO expresses optimism that the discussions of today will contribute to humanity's resolve to address fully, the challenges that we're experiencing by harnessing digital technologies and ICTs. As you know, we are living in unprecedented times at this moment with the COVID-19 pandemic. But also for the participants at large, you will be aware that the African Union Development Agency has just been established. So being a convention of the National Planning and Coordination Agency, the famous NEPAD, into a Continental Development Agency. In this reform, which is part of the broader African agenda, we're taking ICTs very seriously in terms of our work. And as per our strategic plan, we make sure that we are incubating innovative programs in various fields. So these include technology, research and development, knowledge management, as well as data and analytics. Now, it is important to note that within this mandate, as AUD and NEPAD, we've prioritized the establishment of the Centers of Excellence on Technology, Innovation and Digitization, which is aimed to support research, knowledge-driven support to member states. We are fully aligned with the vision of this webinar in the way we deliver our work with the member states and their recs, and we hope that the discussions of today would truly benefit the different partners and the government in the different circles where we operate. And that this will also help us to strengthen our evidence-based policy recommendations, as well as capacity strengthening initiatives at a continent level. I would have loved to share a quote by a famous Niccolò Machiavelli, an Italian diplomat and philosopher, but due to limited time, I may not touch on that, but I'll probably just leave it in the notes for people to review at the end of the meeting if it's possible. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come from a series of revolutions, as a global village, to a point where we've moved from using our hands to work to automation. And in this regard, we've leveraged steam and water power, but also transformed our production systems. This has brought so many benefits to the majority of the population. But now we are here at the fourth industrial revolution, which is poised to deliver even more benefits. We're looking at so many technologies that are going to be put in place. So we're talking about artificial intelligence, blockchain technologies, Internet of Things, 3D printing, big data analytics, 5G, robotics, etc. Now, to touch on the few challenges as we try to move on this process, we recognize that this is a process that requires taking into account many aspects. The first major challenge is the issue of infrastructure to ensure that these technologies are available at a cost-effective price for the general population. But also you realize that the other challenge as well is ensuring that we match our skills, because the technology divide is creating this mismatch between the skills development as well as what our universities and colleges can develop. We, however, wish that as we seek to develop an Africa that we want, which is a digitized one, we address these challenges today and many others that have been raised by the first speaker, but also many that will be raised in the discussion. In conclusion, I seek to remind all of us, particularly those from Africa, that the Agenda 2063 goal of well-educated citizens and skills revolution underpinned by science, technology, and innovation is indeed possible. It is in our hands to plan smart, then act smart to address the current crisis. We need to ensure that no crisis of the same nature as we are facing now, or a different one, would probably put us in this same situation in the future. So it is up to us to do all the best we can to save our continent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nsune, for your insightful opening remarks, and also for highlighting the importance of skills development in science, technology, and innovation. I would now like to invite our next speaker, Mr. Joseph Olugbenga Dada. He is the Vice President, West Africa, African Association for Public Administration and Management, APAM, to deliver his opening remarks. Mr. Dada, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Andrai. It is my singular honor and privilege to represent APAM at this unique forum. This program is within APAM's mandate as an international professional organization to promote best practices, excellence, and professionalism in public administration and management in Africa. It is for this reason that we place this collaboration with our development partners and the actualization of this forum with the highest esteem. Digital government for innovative solutions. APAM believes that improving public sector use of ICT can hugely help make public services more effective and responsive, and enhance the interaction between citizens and various public institutions. In line with this, APAM has been very vocal in encouraging institutions across Africa to progressively shift their approach to digital public service delivery. In terms of what APAM has done, the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic has necessitated a shift of APAM's annual programs. Specifically, the APAM has capitalized on the opportunity to further develop its digital capacity, expand partnerships with like-minded organizations, and redesign the approach to each program. To this end, APAM has embarked on the following, among others. A, constitution of a committee for the fourth industrial revolution in Africa at its executive committee meeting held in Cairo, Egypt on the 1st of December 2019. B, in terms of participating in various programs, APAM has participated in the following, among others. the webinar on leveraging public governance and innovative solutions to address COVID-19 pandemic in Africa on 12 May 2020. The African Forum webinar on reopening African public administration, leading, managing, and delivering in time of COVID-19 and beyond in 22nd June 2020. The African Public Service Day celebration and the UN Public Service Day celebration on 22nd and 23rd of June 2020. With respect to concrete plans and commitment from HAPAM, HAPAM plans to undertake the following concrete plans, both at an organizational level and externally in response to the member needs. These include A, at the organizational level, we have put in place the following measures: improve digital digitalization, developing our website to be hosted on the cloud, strengthening social media presence, among others. Externally, we're hoping to develop massive open online courses. 2, innovative recognition through its Innovative Management Award program, and then continue partnership with like-minded organizations. With respect to capacity building, APAM can undertake the following digital government capacity building programs. A, digital capacity building skills for public servants, policy advocacy for digitalization of government institutions, research on best practices, resource center / e-library, and ICT capacity development on gender empowerment. Let me also state that there are challenges which have been identified as inhibiting ICT leveraging on the continent, among which is non-existence of national policy on ICT, and where they do exist, non or partial implementation of such policies. 2, limited appreciation of the critical role ICT can play in effective public policy delivery by political office holders, inadequate infrastructure, limited financial capacity, poor collaboration and partnership with private sector organizations. Conclusively, ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with me that ICT and digital government provides the opportunity for citizen engagement, accountability and transparency, and efficiency in service delivery, all critical elements in building strong institutions. It is therefore my hope and belief that the presentations by the experts and deliberations that will follow will help come up with workable solutions that will enable Africa leverage on the potentials of ICT and digital government. On this note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, once again, on behalf of the entire APAM fraternity, I wish you a fruitful deliberations. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Dadas, for that very rich presentation of the activities that APAM is undertaking. And APAM is a very valued partner of UNDESA for a very long time. So thank you very much. Now I would like to invite Ms. Christine Sand. She is a senior advisor and she from the International Telecommunication Union, Regional Director for Africa. She is representing Mr. Andrew Rujeje, who is the Regional Director. And thank you very much for being with us today. Ms. Sand, you have the floor. Please turn on your microphone.
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you so much for inviting ITU to this very timely webinar for Africa. And yes, as you mentioned, I'll be delivering some remarks on behalf of our Regional Director, Mr. Andrew Rujeje, who is in Ethiopia today with little internet connection, unfortunately. So ITU provides a regional and international platform where African countries have been participating and interacting with other countries, with telecom, ICT regulators, private sector, regional and international organizations, UN agencies, and academic institutions on all matters digital. And for such digital opportunities to fully materialize, innovative approaches to policy and regulation are more urgently required than ever. And I think we heard some indication of that also from the earlier speakers. And achieving this connectivity for all goals, these goals means finding new ways of reaching out to communities that are not connected. It means reaching places where other basic infrastructure like reliable electricity may not be available. And it also means reaching out to people who struggle with literacy, numeracy, and extending digital skills so that everyone can fully leverage the power of ICTs to improve their lives. And COVID-19 has put a spotlight on connectivity and resilient digital infrastructure, enabling policies and digital skills, and the lack thereof, in many cases in the region, So the case for urgency has certainly been made. And inequalities are aggravating the technology and digital divides, creating an even wider gap that threatens to leave already marginalized communities and citizens behind. And in this regard, we see also the 2021 World Telecommunication Development Conference, which will be held for the first time in Africa, in Addis, from the 8th to the 19th November, coming very timely. And the role of the BTTC will be very critical to connecting the next 3.6 billion people around the world. And when we look at ITU's services and product offering in Africa, with our regional office based in Ethiopia, but also area offices in Cameroon, Senegal, and Zimbabwe, we have grouped these under 10 global thematic priority areas, where we find digital policy and regulation, digital skills, digital inclusion, infrastructure, cybersecurity, and so forth. And across these different thematic priorities, we have different tools and different platforms, like the ITU Academy platforms, which is an online gateway to ITU's capacity development activities. We have ITU Centers of Excellence and Digital Transformation Center networks, which are also very active in the region. And youth engagement is increasingly important in the work across the different thematics areas at ITU. And we have a number of ongoing projects and initiatives that are grouped under our regional initiatives for Africa. And I will mention a few of these as they relate particularly to the discussions here today. We have the ITU UNICEF DIGA initiative in Africa, which aims to connect every school to the internet and every person to information, opportunity, and choice. We have the ITU ILO African Union joint program towards boosting decent jobs and enhancing digital skills for youth in Africa. And we have the African Girls Can Code initiative together with UN Women and other partners, as well as the African Smart Villages initiatives with dedicated country projects, just to name a few. And when we talk about COVID-19 responses, ITU has released a number of different resources that contribute to efforts in the region. And we note that this unprecedented COVID-19 crisis has really accelerated digitalization of many businesses, services, and more people than ever are working teleworking or using video conferencing systems. And also across the world, there is more reliance on these networks, and people have to have the skills to be able to address these matters in their daily work and in their daily lives. And in Africa, we have been enhancing and accelerating some specific initiatives with partners that we had in place earlier, and we have been able to use these to mitigate the pandemic. And some examples are the SMS messaging for COVID-19 with the WHO, which builds on the Be Healthy, Be Mobile initiative. We have the Smart Villages platform for COVID-19 in Niger, and we have telemedicine activities in Zimbabwe, just to name a few of these initiatives that we're working on with partners. And I will end ITU's intervention here. We have shared some resources also on the website that we hope will be useful and informative. And we are happy to share any additional information on these ongoing and planned initiatives with partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sand, for highlighting the 10 global thematic areas, tools, platforms, online gateways, the academies. This is a rich and significant amount of activities, initiatives, and projects, and I'm sure all the participants will be extremely interested and go to ITU's website and to see all the various initiatives, and particularly the ones also connecting, schools to the internet, girls. So thank you very much for sharing all of that. We would now like to conclude the opening session, and we will begin our panel discussion on how different countries faced the crisis and what their experiences are. We also want to hear from the panelists what types of innovative tools and digital government strategies were used to address the COVID-19, and also plans for the post-COVID-19 era. But all of this in the context of effective governance for sustainable development, and how digital government transformation can support effective governance for sustainable development. So it is my pleasure and honor to introduce Mr. Jide Balogun. He is the Special Advisor to the President of the United Nations General Assembly for his remarks. And I would like to ask Mr. Balogun, what policy, institutional, and managerial issues need to be addressed in the public sector in Africa to build back better? And what do you think are the key capacities needed to do so? Mr. Balogun, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Adriana. You knew all along that I'm not an ICT supremo before you extended an invitation to me. But you and I, we've done a lot of work in the area in which I'm going to talk about now. And I believe that even though I'm not talking about the core aspect of ICT and its application to the post-COVID challenges facing Africa and possibly the rest of the world, people will agree with me that unless we address the policy, institutional, and managerial issues which the moderator alluded to in the introduction, we're not getting anywhere. I'm sorry to say, I don't want to be to rain on anybody's parade, but before ICT could assist in hastening our journey out of the post-COVID challenges, we need to address a number of things. First of all, let's ask the question, what do we mean by building back? For some, building back means improving on what they had before. But from what I can see in a number of African countries, building back might not be the applicable term. Maybe instead of talking about building back, we should be talking about fixing broken systems. Let me illustrate what I mean by that. In New York here, where we are, it took them less than a month to construct mobile hospitals here in New York. Turkey, it took the government 45 days to construct and equip hospitals which will serve the needs of victims of COVID-19. Now, compare this with one African country, which will be nameless, where it took 6 years to complete a 6-kilometer stretch of road. And within this 6-year period, 4 ministers changed positions, awarded and re-awarded contracts. Now, what am I saying here? I'm talking about to strengthen institutions which are capable of formulating policy, which are capable of analyzing options, which are capable of implementing or even designing implementation frameworks. Now, unless this, I attend to this, it will be very difficult for ICT to help us in achieving our objective. So building back better must also be matched with fixing broken solutions. Now, since I do not have a lot of time, let me quickly focus on the priority actions. What needs to be done if we're going to leverage the power of ICT and assist in a quick recovery from the COVID-19 challenges. Number one, the first thing that needs to be done, again, the moderator is fully aware of this because she and I, we've done a lot of work in the area, is restoring citizen trust in government. And how do you do that? By ensuring that integrity fight against corruption, fight against institutional capture becomes the core functions of government. To restore confidence in government, you must address this. You must also assure the citizen that what you promised them, you will be able to deliver. And that leads to accountability in government and in the public service. Now, a number of countries in Africa have made rapid advances, and of course, much deals with advances in the ICT applications by introducing what they call performance contracting. I refer in particular to countries like Kenya, Ethiopia, Botswana, South Africa, Namibia, and a number of other countries like that. Through performance contracting, they change the face of public administration. And if we can do that, I believe that that will also help when we are trying to apply ICT solutions. Then the engineering of processes. I know a number of countries in Africa where after post-COVID-19, during post-COVID-19 challenges, it was impossible for courts to hold. They could not hold their sessions. So as a result of that, they were forced to apply ICT solutions by allowing litigants to file cases online, which they were not doing before. But then the convoluted rules of procedures which they had before remained in place, so nothing changed. So unless we're going to take advantage of the ICT in the area of government in the performance, in enhancing the performance of government, it is necessary to re-engineer process and eliminate complicated processes. Then improve service delivery by involving the citizen in the determination of targets, time standards, and things like that. So I think I will stop here for now, and then maybe as time goes on, I'll be provoked into saying other things regarding what I'm supposed to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jide, for that, for that reflection on what do we mean, by building back, and also the critical role of strengthening institutions, restoring citizens' trust in government, accountability, keeping promises, and then the performance contracts, and how it is important to uphold integrity. So thank you. I think you have given a very rich panorama of what capacities are needed, and that the technologies, should be utilized in this direction. So it's very important to have the context. So we thank you again for that inspiring remarks. And I would now like to introduce Her Excellency Ms. Stella Tembisa Ndambeni Abrahams. She is the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies of South Africa. And Your Excellency, I would like to ask you a question. And how has South Africa been leveraging ICTs and digital technologies to address COVID-19 and prepare for building back better in the post-COVID-19 era? Can you share with us some of the challenges and lessons learned? Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Adriana, and good afternoon to all the panelists and everybody who's participating in the platform. My name is Stella Ndambeni Abrahams, the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies in South Africa. A very good question that you're asking, Adriana, which talks to how have we tried in South Africa to navigate all that was imposed to us by COVID-19. And of course, the minute in South Africa, President Ramaphosa announced that we're gonna go for the national state of disaster, which was in March, everybody panicked. But because we had foreseen as the department responsible to say, let's prepare for an environment whereby people may not be able to go to work. And for us to do that, we really needed to make sure that we bring all our industry players on board, and then the entities that report to the portfolio that I'm heading. As we did that, of course, we then had to make sure that there are key things that we needed to look into. If we're saying, because we are now in a national state of disaster, it means people will not be able to go to work because we're avoiding infections, but people must continue doing work because there are those services that are essential that have to be rendered. It doesn't matter if people are sick or there's a virus or not. And therefore, the first thing that we did through our state agency was to make sure that we enable remote working. And the only way we did that was through partnerships with our industry bodies who came together and availed all the platforms that they had, to not to government only, but to the entire public of South Africa. As we did that, we then realized it's not enough that we just make sure that we provide remote working availabilities, but also it's important that we make sure that we try to avoid traffic, because if people are going to be working from home, it tells you that there's going to be lots of traffic, and then people will be complaining about the pace as they're trying to search the net and all that. And the first thing that we did was to make sure, how do we then make sure that we give access by ensuring that we provide spectrum relief to the operators in order to increase capacity for the operators, and that they can serve the public. As we do that, we then again realized that we may have licensed spectrum, but if we have not looked into enhancing or ensuring that there's going to be smooth operations in terms of rolling out or fast-tracking the rapid deployment of electronic communication services, we're still going to explore challenges, which is why we then said, let's sign memorandum of understandings with the different spheres of government, the department responsible for local government in South Africa, and the municipalities themselves, to say, let's come together to make sure that we ease the way of deploying infrastructure. And indeed, our public, our industry responded positively as we were doing that. I talked of the services that people have to access, whether they're at home or they have virus or not. Key to that is education, because we all understand that it is a key enabler to building a digital economy. And as we did that, kids could not go to school. So ours was to say, how do we then make sure that we impose social compact obligations to the mobile operators that we've given spectrum to? And that's why they zero rated the educational sites, all of them at local, at a basic level, and at university level. We had different engagements to say, how do we then create specific packages that will enable the tertiary institutions to be able to access the education service that they needed to do. On top of that, we also imposed the likes of creating the virtual classrooms in order to make sure that kids, wherever they're learning from, they can at least visualize the classroom, even if they're learning from their device. But as we're talking about that, as we go to the challenges, reality sank. That we've tried to create this enabling environment, but that is an obstacle and a real challenge to Africa, and not South Africa only, is that of bridging the digital divide that most speakers spoke about earlier. As I say that, we witnessed a situation whereby even those that had access to the technological devices that we're talking about, but they couldn't use them. They were not used at starting online. They were not used at doing work online. Their normal day-to-day was to go to the office and listen to it, and then they can do work. And as that happened, then we then saw that there's a need for us, when we prepare for the normal day-to-day life in the COVID era, because we're not planning for post-COVID era, we're planning for COVID now, because we see that it has brought to us a new normal. How do we make sure that we provide those digital skills, both for learners and the educators themselves, whilst we are looking at the accessibility of the devices that they should utilize? And indeed, as I said, that has been made possible with the strides between government and the operators. We are, as I'm speaking to you now, trying to work with the Department of Education and everybody involved, science and innovation, to say, let's try to come up with a way that will introduce a hybrid model in South Africa, whereby our learners are able to go to classrooms when it's normal, but in a situation where they cannot, and then they will be able to study from home. And that we're in a process of working on. And of course, as we set all these directions I spoke about, we really needed to make sure that we are able to get the work coordinated to see where there are gaps so that we can immediately intervene as the policymaker if it requires policy interventions. We established a PMO to ensure that we check everything, including through the regulator which licensed the spectrum, to say we've got to track and trace the areas where deployment has been done, so that when we say it's time to go back to normal, and therefore they are able to say these were the sites, and indeed as these were the sites, we're able to then switch off and go back to the process. As you are aware that in South Africa, we're in a process of licensing spectrum as I'm speaking to you now, Adriana. These are the key interventions that we've put on board and the challenges that we've experienced. And of course, key to that is the resourcing of the digital economy that we're talking about. And I'm proud to say, as the department, we are working with other departments to come up with a digital economy master plan that will chart a clear way forward of where South Africa goes to, as informed by the report of the Presidential Commission on the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Thank you so much, Adriana. I would like to pause there.
Thank you, Your Excellency. That was a very rich intervention, and thank you for focusing both on opportunities, challenges, digital divides, the key role of education for the digital economy, and also the importance of access to digital devices. And thank you also for sharing what are the next steps of your government. I would now like to introduce our next speaker, Ms. Elizabeth Adongo Olo. She is a senior policy advisor and head of the Office of the Cabinet Secretary of the Ministry of Public Service and Gender of Kenya. And I would like to pose a question, Ms. Olo. What are some of the effective strategies in engaging vulnerable groups and policymaking and ensuring the delivery of essential public services to mitigate the devastating impact of COVID-19? And how do you think that ICTs and frontier technologies can support this endeavor? Ms. Olo, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you, our host and partner organizations, Your Excellencies, and my fellow participants. Thank you for inviting me. It's a great honor, and it's good that we're all together in this, in such a time that will mark a big difference. I wanted to pose my question using a case study called Huduma Halisi campaign, which is a campaign that Kenya has been running as a pilot led by UNECA. And the study itself speaks to the question that you have posed. And it fits right well because Kenya has been running it up to the point where we were supposed to be launching it, then COVID did happen. My fellow speakers, this campaign was set during in 2018 when the AU had when AU was looking at the anti-corruption. Its theme was winning the fight against corruption, a sustainable path to Africa's transformation. And it looked, and the UNECA program looks at honest public service. And what it did was looking at how looking at anti-corruption campaign that would look at ensuring public resources are effectively utilized, but more important, speak to the values, public service values and principles, which when you talk about integrity, transparency, inclusion, and sustainable development. Hence, what we say that once applied, these speak to honest public service. At the core of Huduma Halisi campaign, our core group has been young people and ordinary citizens who give feedback in terms of their experience and how they engage with public service on a day-to-day basis. And one of the reasons we chose the young people and ordinary citizen is that, one, young people are able to engage with mobile and technology, but they're honest, and they also use a wide array of services from education to health and quite a number. And also because we found that once you use technology, it levels the access to services in most cases, and I'll explain that in a little while. So we have been using the Huduma Halisi campaign as a powerful tool for policy analysis and advocacy. Again, I'll explain what happens to the data. But we also took advantage on Kenya's expanded mobile telephony. I mean, we have a good infrastructure in Kenya and a good penetration of mobile. So we used in the platform, we use SMS, we've used SSD to collect citizens' feedback. Now, just the next slide, please. In terms of the system itself that we have used, it's a hybrid platform where citizens submit their feedback on essential services. And the reason we are giving this as as a case study is because at the point when we were setting it up, when we did a focus group, when we asked a lot of people, what are the essential services that speak to you? Which are these essential services that, if you were told 1, 2, 3, 5, give us, and they mean a lot in terms of interaction. And those similar services are the same services that speak to the citizens during this COVID period. So the platform itself is looking at the police stations, and we've expanded it to look at the citizens' experience in terms of the security services. Then it looked at health, the service how they interact with the immediate services at the health centers. We also looked at education, and this was both tertiary, basic education, how they interact from the beginning up to the end. And then in Kenya, we have what we call the Huduma centers. This is the one-stop shops that provide all the immediate, most essential services. So applying for your identification, getting your police clearance, getting the information on birth certificates. So the Huduma centers, we have 52 of them across the country, and that was one of them. So based on those 4, which were our pilot, again using the focus group was to develop the indicators. What to citizens, what do they mean? And these ones are mapped to the SDG 6. It's mapped to issues of efficiency, transparency, integrity. And the data that they give us, which you can see from the architecture here, is once they call, they're able to feedback on a number of questions, which is provided free, although through the various networks that we have. The data that we receive is fed into a system database and analyzed against the citizen-generated indicators. Because the program was evolving, one of the immediate things that we wanted to do was it then feeds to the scorecards, it feeds into performance targets, it's able to feed, so it actually generates action, which is what most people wanted. Then the data collected is translated on web portals, and this generates reports which you can access at different levels. So whether you are the implementer, whether you're an advocacy group you want to see, or whether you're the leaders like the ministers and the governors, then they're able to actually see how their services are going. So the program itself has been very useful. The architecture looks complicated, but it isn't. It's quite a very, very accessible in terms of the front facing. Last slide, please. Now, as a result of that, this was we were at that point where we were ready to launch the program. It's running. It's got the focus group. But when then COVID came, we went back to the focus group to ask what are the key concerns as that's changed, and how could we use the platform that we've already set. And again, it came back to the same thing. I think a lot of people during COVID have told us that there are certain things that they still want to see: business continuity, that they're still able to access, so irrespective of the social distance and safety, government has to ensure there's some continuity for their business. Because, like, for example, one of the areas we found was, if you stop the IDs, they can't get the cash transfers. Or during the curfew, they can't then identify themselves. So there was importance that those essential services that are offered are there. But at the same time, one of the emerging things that came and actually made us relook at the program was that a lot of the citizens were concerned in terms of how we are utilizing the resources that have been given towards or channeled towards COVID-19. Because a lot of countries have spent, especially Kenya. So we saw a lot of citizens through social media platform, our advocacy groups asking, yes, we have spent this amount of money in PPEs, on face masks, on cash transfer. Are they reaching the beneficiaries? And the second bullet talks about, then the second concern was then COVID clawing back some of the rights that citizens have. Because of the crisis, you have to make decisions fast. So was there, they identified a real risk of opaqueness in decision making, masked as the need to make quick decision. And that has been very frustrating. And also because, for example, in Kenya, public participation is in our constitution, but most of the stuff was done through, physical presence. And therefore, a lot of these things to do with public participation was being clawed back because of social distance. So again, how do you then deal and turn these issues in a way that you could then make sure citizens are engaged in the decisions that are being made? And therefore, and again, also some of the measures that were being brought, do they have the buy-in of the community? And therefore, we saw the campaign itself, and we're looking at the architecture of it, so that the citizen feedback happens in real time. Because, and that's what our architecture opens. It does give you, you're able to make decisions in real time. You're also able to measure levels and efficacy of your service delivery. So through that, we've put indicators like, have masks been available, sanitizers, were they offered when you went onto the public service? And one of the ones that we are now looking at, and also looking at speaking with partners, is how can citizens be involved in tracking the resource utilization? So that you can see from the point where World Bank or IMF or any partner or the National Bank has done has given masks, and how does it then lead to service delivery? I thank you so, so much, and I look forward to continued conversation on this. Asante.
Thank you very much, Ms. Olu. That was, very comprehensive presentation, and thank you for also highlighting the importance of values and principles, because sometimes, in discussions about digital government, one goes directly into, what are the best tools, but we should always remember what are the values and principles. And honest public servants and honest public service are at the core. And of course, the principles of leaving no one behind, integration, innovation, intergenerational equity, as spelled out also in the 2030 agenda, and which is also aligned with the agenda for Africa. So I really thank you for that, also for highlighting feedback, focus groups, and citizen-centric services. And I also want to congratulate you, and because you know that the Huduma, the Kenya project, won the United Nations Public Service Awards in 2015 under the category of improving delivery of public services. So it is really, encouraging and refreshing to see how that initiative has evolved over the past few years. And I am sure that if participants want to learn more about this initiative, there is information both on the DESA website when they won, but there has been so much advancements lately that I'm sure they can find more information also on your website, on the Kenya government's website. So for all participants that are interested in this very innovative initiative, I invite everyone to go to your website. So thank you again for that insightful presentation. I now have the pleasure and honor to introduce my colleague, Mr. Vincenzo Acquaro. He is the chief of the digital government branch of the Division for Public Institutions and Digital Government of the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs. And I would like to ask Mr. Acquaro, based on the current national experiences, how can governments improve their digital government strategies during and after the COVID-19 crisis? And would you be able to share with us some innovative practices from around the world? Vincenzo, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Adriana. First of all, let me say it's my great honor to participate in this prestigious webinar with such distinguished panelists. I found all the previous interesting and inspiring. The COVID-19 crisis global economy. Efforts to stop the spread of the novel coronavirus, particularly the closure of non-essential businesses, are having an unprecedented impact on the economy worldwide. In the US, for example, the unemployment rate in June was more than 14%, the worst since the Great Depression. A lot of non-essential industries in many countries are on the verge of bankruptcy. World Economic Forum, ILO, and World Bank have already predicted that half of the jobs in Africa region may disappear as a result of COVID-19 induced economic crisis. Healthcare systems are under stress everywhere. Social protection systems may not be able to cope with the increasing economic hardships. But as the world grapples with the coronavirus disease pandemic, all the e-government systems in the world have received much higher demand than normal times. With citizens and students locked at home, in some cases, online usage increased more than 2,000%. Sorry, yes, 2,000, correct. During the crisis, digital technologies have enabled governments to make rapid policy decisions based on real-time data and analytics, and have enhanced the capacities of local authorities to better coordinate and deploy essential services to those who need the most. In very short time, almost all member states have implemented so many new initiatives and solutions, including contact tracing, and dedicated COVID. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. There, can you please repeat? I think there's a problem with the connection.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So in the very short time, almost all member states have implemented so many new initiatives and solutions, including the contact tracing applications, online permits for curfews, and dedicated COVID-19, among many others. Some of those brilliant innovative practices. At DESA, we have recently opened a call for collecting COVID-19 related e-government applications, and in less than 2 weeks, we have received more than 500 cases from almost 100 member states, 20 of them from Africa, with about 50 cases submitted. And we are still receiving more cases. These collected practices have been grouped into the following categories: information sharing, e-participation, e-health, e-services for supply chain and social inclusion, e-businesses, e-commerce, e-learning, solution for smart working. These cases include dedicated COVID-19 portals, hackathon with non-government institutions, e-services for supply of medical goods, and of course, tracking and tracing application. Some are very innovative, especially by using combined advanced technologies such as artificial intelligence, mobile sensors and devices, big data. Others are more process-oriented or policy-oriented. Many governments have further intensified the use of social media to connect with people. Some also have partnered with the influencers to disseminate accurate information about the COVID-19 outbreak and to counter harmful misinformations. There has been also a focus on engaging with youth and children who are very vulnerable to fake news and hate speeches and might suffer the most from the burden the COVID-19 crisis put on well-being. A special addendum of COVID-19 response will be included in the forthcoming 2020 United Nations e-government survey. It's our flagship publication covering in more detail the topics here introduced. The survey will be launched at global level on the 10th of July. Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing years of digital transformation in a few months. Most of the e-government systems cope very well with the increased demand, but some countries do not so advanced on digital transformation had showed their fragility in terms of connectivity, accessibility, affordability, and more in digital divide. Let's not forget that still almost half of the world population is offline, most of them still in Africa. As the Assistant Secretary General, Ms. Pastolisano, said in the opening, the COVID-19 pandemic underscored the urgency in bridging digital divide. Without prompt action, there is of layering more the current barriers to digital inclusion on top of existing obstacles to development. Leaving no one behind should be the core leading principle for recovery and for sustainable development. In looking towards post-COVID-19 support for developing countries, digital transformation must be leveraged for these countries as well as for underserved group of people so that the recovery efforts build an inclusive digital platform that would accelerate progress for all. But policymakers need to further work together at national, regional, and global level, even when the crisis is over. One big risk about the future is that without the targeted measures and international principle of no one be challenged unless the needs of both developing and the least developed countries and population are considered. We have a significant social impact in using new technologies. Government should partner more with the private sector in research and development, including addressing the broadband connectivity gap. To conclude, few recommendations for your consideration. Policy makers should seize the COVID-19 crisis as an opportunity to establish data-driven policies, tailor-made digital government tools, strategies, and collaboration for the future. Government at all levels should embrace these policies and technological development and harvest the digital opportunities that can support the long-term sustainable development of the countries. In the long term, government need to accelerate the implementation of innovative digital technology and use of AI, and developing countries, and in particular African region, will need to strengthen international and multi-stakeholder cooperation in mitigating the crisis and for post-crisis recovery. Therefore, global, regional, North and South-South cooperation and the more project-oriented collaboration with private sector, international organizations, and other stakeholders are strategic and need to be facilitated and put in place. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Vincenzo, for that insightful presentation and for highlighting the importance, the critical importance of partnerships, and also for highlighting the vast array of innovative cases that you have been gathering from around the world, which will be also made available on the UNDESA DPIDG website in the future. And also, I would like to invite all the participants to join us for the launch of the UN e-Government Survey, which once again will take place on July 10th. And we will also share with you information about the launch of the survey. So thank you again, Vincenzo, for your very inspiring remarks. It is now my pleasure to introduce Ms. Carla Montesi. She is Director in charge of Digital Transformation of the Directorate General for Development and International Cooperation of the European Commission. And Ms. Montesi, I would like to ask you, how is the EU advancing digital government to address COVID-19? And in what ways can the European Union support Africa's efforts towards digital transformation? Ms. Montesi, you have the floor.
Many thanks, Adriana, and good morning, dear panelists, dear participants. I am very happy to join this webinar, and let me start immediately by, in the first slides, sharing with you how important is the digital for the European Union. So let me start by sharing with you the vision on digital that was launched by the President von der Leyen in the key communication. I think we can start with the first slide, please, with the key communication, Shaping Europe Digital Future. It's available now on the UNDESA web. The political guidelines that are in this communication will frame our digital transformation. And maybe I can just summarize in 3 sentences. First, we need to lead the transition to an health planet, and we need a new digital world. The second is, we want a society that is powered by digital solutions that are strongly rooted in the common values. This was already mentioned, but it's key. So this implies that we really want to ensure that we work with a technology that works for people, so a digital transformation that is based on a human-centric approach. Fair employment conditions, rights regarding own data, respect of fundamental rights will be key. To ensure these common values, this means that we want to also a fair competitive economy with an open single market that boosts productivity and the global competitiveness. And we want a digital technology that contributes to a sustainable, climate neutral, and resource efficiency economy. Unfortunately, what we need to pay attention, it was already mentioned, that we need to be aware that the benefits arising from the digital technologies do not come without risks and costs. So citizens, we know, no longer feel in control over what happens with their personal data. We know that we have malicious cyber activities that may threaten people's well-being, that can have a huge impact on the disruption of critical infrastructure. And as was already said, we have to remain vigilant that the digital divide does not exclude part of our society. And I am thinking to the gender digital divide. Next slide, please. To answer to your question, Adriana, I think we have a clear example. It was all mentioned by the previous intervenant, so I will not repeat, but we have a clear example on how digital was crucial in the response of an immediate reaction to the COVID crisis. Let's just think about the data that were fundamental, about the information on the spread of the virus, that was crucial for establishing a reporting system, that was crucial for preparing informed response measure. But as was already mentioned, we need to think on the impact that we had for the social distancing measures that have required digital solution for people to work remotely, for students or pupils to continue to do e-learning for their education. And also, I have to say, in Europe, the continuation of the economic activities as largely dependent on the digital connectivity and on the e-service. So we all know, I will not deepen even more this point because it was really clear in all the previous intervention. Now, going to what you said, what Europe has done facing this crisis, let me say that Europe, with a Team Europe approach, this implies institutions plus member states, plus development financing, plus development agency, we have pledged 36 billion euro to support our partners in facing the emergency. This was a support, of course, that given an answer to the health sector, but also to the economy, to face the economic crisis, but also to the digital. Just to give it to you an example on the digital, we are setting a platform that we call the D4D Hub, together with member states, development agency, and the tech companies to finance, to support initiative on connectivity, on e-health, on skills and entrepreneurship, and also on access to finance. If I can give a small example, concrete example, it was we are supporting, for example, the regional surveillance and the monitoring system for COVID-19 in the IGAD region. So this action will support IGAD and its countries in establishing a regional surveillance and the monitoring system. We are also supporting 9 countries in e-health and the connectivity for education in the East and Southern African regions. Just to mention only 2 of some concrete examples. Now, Adriana, you mentioned also before that we need also to look to the post-COVID situation, still when we are dealing with the crisis. We are to think to the after. We have to think to the recovery, and it was already mentioned how we can assure that we build back better. And let me say that the European Commission has taken a strong position on this. We have proposed a recovery plan for Europe, but that take into account also the support to our partner countries, where we foreseen investment in digital transformation. And this recovery plan, it's clear mentioned, we want a recovery, but a recovery that will be a green recovery, a digital recovery, a just and a resilience recovery. And this key engagement were fully translated into the proposal into our financial proposal. So in the proposal that was made 2 weeks ago, that was called the Next Generation EU, we have foreseen 715 billion to boost in the next 2 years our European Union budget, with new financing raised on the financial market, and we have proposed a reinforced long-term budget for Europe, but also for our support to the partner countries.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let me just say, to reach this ambition, we have to work all together, and we have a long-term perspective on this. Over to you, Adriana. Many thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much for, again, that very rich presentation and sharing the vision of the European Union and also initiatives and next steps. And again, I also invite all participants to visit, the European Union's website, where you will find a lot of interesting information on what the EU is doing. It is now my pleasure to introduce Ms. Hye Yoon Kim. She is the Senior Vice President of National Information Society Agency, NIA, of the Republic of Korea. And I would like to ask the following question. What are some of the key strategies that would allow governments to mobilize and deploy ICTs and digital government services during the various stages of COVID-19, including the preparation for the post-COVID-19 era? Could you please share with us some innovative practices from Korea. Ms. Kim, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Adriana. It's nice to be with you and share what we are doing. Since COVID-19 is creating very fast and exponentially, we expect this webinar give us insights from successes and lessons from failures by sharing experiences. As you can see in the first slide, I would say we have established a strategic test, trace, treat system where ICT and digital government services are put together. We highly recognize that early detection and early response is the key to preventing a pandemic. We have developed promptly the testing kits based on AI technology. In the stage of screening and diagnosis, Korea uses smart quarantine information system, which has access to data on entrance from countries affected by COVID-19. In addition, we have increased the efficiency of testing with walk-through screening center and drive-through station. For preventive measures, self-health check app were released to domestic residents and foreigners. At the stage of tracing, the process of contact tracing and monitoring for confirmed patients is automated through the epidemiological investigation system. Their travel routes and location information are provided by telecom and credit card companies. We have legal basis for sharing personal information for emergency response based on infectious disease control and prevention law. For a systematic management of confirmed patients, we need to allocate efficiently medical resources. We have grouped the COVID-19 confirmed patients into severe and mild non-symptom cases. The patients with mild or non-symptom cases are admitted to community treatment centers. As for severe case patients, they are transferred to negative pressure rooms for intensive care in hospitals. These are efficiently allocated through the patient resource management system. As you can see in the second slide, I can tell you that transparency and the communication are the other important issues. At the beginning of COVID-19 spread, the Korean government's priority is to maintain transparent information disclosure and communication. The government is pursuing an absolute transparency with the public sharing of how the COVID-19 is spreading and what the government is doing. Through the official website of COVID-19 and government daily briefings, the latest information is updated real time for better access to the COVID-19 proceedings. The Korean government is updated real time, opening public data so that many private app services can be created in order to make people cope with the COVID-19. And our people follow social distancing and mask mandate in public areas, such as buses and subways or other multi-facilities. All of such collaboration and communication was possible thanks to the mature civil response. The government also sent emergency alerts to all citizens by using the cell broadcasting service. In the third slide, in order to prepare for the post-COVID-19 era, Korea tries to enhance resilience by accelerating digital transformation. The resilience can be achieved through the non-contact or contactless industries, such as distant education, telemedicine, and working at home. We have planned to further expand the digital infrastructure for the non-contact industries. Therefore, we are going to further develop AI, big data, cloud, as well as 5G. We also need to improve our responsiveness to digital transformation by helping vulnerable groups and supporting small businesses. And the non-contact services in public services will be expanded. The COVID-19 pandemic has reminded us that the world is a single community. Certainly, global cooperation is a must. My organization, NIA, is pursuing joint cooperation through the e-government cooperation center. In addition, we are going to work on a wide range of cooperation by creating an educational program on so-called K-quarantine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Kim, very much for highlighting, all the work that your organization NIA is doing, and also how it's reaching out through global cooperation. I thank you for those insightful remarks. We are running a little bit late. I would like to give the floor now to Mr. Sang-Yi Lau. He is the Senior Executive Vice President of Tencent from China. And I would like to ask you, Mr. Lau, how can the ICT business sector effectively contribute to government efforts in the fight against COVID-19 and building back better in the post-COVID-19 era? We heard already from our previous speakers how important it is that governments work together with the private sector. Therefore, I would like to give you the floor, Mr. Lau.
Thank you, Madam Chairlady. The tsunami-like onset of COVID-19 has engulfed unprepared public health system globally in a most unprecedented manner. In fact, early on, just like many pandemics in the past, focus was on medical treatment and mass prevention. And today, additional focus is also being channeled towards the restorations of the economy, for humanity now has new access to digital tools which have helped to turn the tide. Initially, spiking numbers of confirmed cases and shortage of medical resources were critical problems in a huge geography such as China. The power of ICT deployed together have directly contributed to the containment of the pandemic. Using technologies from Tencent as a case study, we have helped improve medical efficiency, saving medical resources, and accelerating medical research. For example, CT machines utilizing artificial intelligence technologies by Tencent are employed throughout Hubei province. Reading a CT image used to take up to 15 minutes, but now with AI technology, it enables a pattern recognition in 2 seconds and outputs reference for diagnosis in just a minute. Every second counts greatly in a pandemic situation. To save medical resources, Tencent also open source the COVID-19 self-triage assistant globally. That's a program that's being utilized by hundreds of millions of people today for self-assessments about potential symptoms, empowering people's decision to go to hospital or self-quarantine. And this helps prevent unnecessary congestions in many types of medical facilities. And finally, in the space of medical research, Tencent Cloud provides computing resources to vaccine development programs to expedite research progress. And in all the examples that I mentioned above, both time and medical resources were saved. Now, digital technology also played a mission-critical role in mobilizing the entire society to contain further outbreaks, enabling millions of people to become more agile and quickly react to any potential threats. That was a key ingredient to prevent a tragedy from escalating to the tragedies of the common. Now, this was done firstly by keeping the public well informed in a timely manner by releasing factual information and a strong response to fake news and rumors. Secondly, Chinese public sector has also successfully adopted real-time digital technology in the front line in ensuring a unified national standard for gatherings of data. And finally, many of China's earliest digital platforms for matching demand and supply of materials indispensable to the containment of the outbreak were voluntarily and publicly created. Numerous chat groups were created on WeChat, and some for purchasing daily necessity goods for their neighbors, and even some assisted with the entry or exit management of residential communities. So we can see that through all the various steps of digital tools, people are better empowered to practice social distancing, performing self-checks, and making necessary day-to-day purchases. And all these efforts have resulted in a less disruptive daily livelihood. In the long haul, digital technology is leading the way to establishing a more resilient society. Saving life was crucial, but ensuring no disruptions in the livelihoods of the public, I think, is equally important. New infrastructure, new business culture, and new business model will transform all sectors of the economy as traditional industry will be forced to digitalize eminently. The industrial internet as we know it today will be a powerful strategic tool to help small, medium enterprises to sustain their business model in a post-pandemic world. Now, the catering industry is a great example of agility in creating a new business model. Xibei, a restaurant chain in China, uses a Tencent's WeChat Work or a corporate version of WeChat to directly connect customer managers in its 200 outlets with 90,000 customers, literally creating a new operational model overnight, every night. Now, as closing, let me quickly put in perspective the most meaningful learning that China has learned in this pandemic. A sustainable society is one where everyone knows their roles and takes actions as required. While the foundation and catalyst of this optimal society lies in the digital economy or digital technology for that matter, a digital empowered multi-player model is currently taking shape, comprised of a public sector, private sector, and of course, the general public at large. Each are learning and discovering their new roles under the positive residue left behind by the pandemic. For the government agencies, it has moved on from a command center to be a center of collaborations. And for the private sector, we are pleased to see migrations from being a pure CSR participant to an active ecosystem contributor. And finally, with heightened observations, the general public has risen from being a passive audience to be the masters of their very own destiny under the empowerments of tech for good. Madam Secretary, that concludes our sharing from China. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Lau, for your presentation, and especially, for these very key messages that you have highlighted, particularly on the importance of a more collaborative approach in government, and also the critical role that all people play in containing the spread, and also in what's going to be the post-COVID-19 era, assuming a much more proactive role. So social responsibility combined with collaboration. Thank you very much. We now have concluded our panel discussion, and we have received a number of questions from the audience. So I would like to, I know that we are going a little bit beyond the time, so I would like to apologize to our audience. I hope you can stay with us for a few more minutes, because we have received so many interesting questions, and we would like to give an opportunity to our panelists to respond to those very enlightening and relevant questions. We know, for example, that, and we heard that from the previous speakers, that when we talk about digital government, we are also talking about what are the challenges. And one of those challenges is the digital divide, our digital divides, and one of them is the divide between urban and rural communities. So here is a question that we received from Ms. Ehindero Alaba. She's the executive director of the Zlong Care Life and Family Impact Foundation from Nigeria. And the question that I would like to pose to Ms. Elizabeth Olu is the following: how can ICTs be leveraged in the rural communities in Africa, considering their challenges, such as low internet connectivity, while maintaining social distancing? What could be effective means to communicate the COVID-19 safety measures to the digital illiterate? Ms. Olu, could you share with us your thoughts, perhaps in 2 minutes, if that's possible? Ms. Olu, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I think as has been said by other previous speakers, one of the emerging policy priorities and issue is the digital inequality. And we have seen it in terms of access of service, of information, and other areas. Therefore, in terms of COVID, I think the broader issue here is how is the dealing with digital inequality going to be made as part of the post-recovery strategy plan globally and also in terms of regional. And I think as Mr. The last speaker, Mr. Song Yi has said, this has got to be about collaboration. And therefore, we are looking for leadership, we're looking for collaboration in this area. Coming back to specifics in terms of the rural communities, and I want to draw from Kenya's experience, I think the most important thing is infrastructure. There's got to be investment in infrastructure that allows for us accessibility. Accessibility in terms of the connectivity, but also in terms of, at affordable cost. So we've seen in Kenya the fiber optics that were laid years ago being able to help and support. Recently, the Ministry of ICT had the Luni launched, and that has really made a difference. And therefore, we're looking for also infrastructure in terms of electricity and all that. So we're looking at a lot of investments that then allows the private sector, facilitates the private sector to then be able to make available the resources that it needs to. But again, coming to in terms of looking at some of the issues around communicating the COVID message, and I want to go even in terms of education, we have had, pooling of access. So in rural areas where you might not be able to get to the individuals, safe distance classes, centers where people can go and access the services, using the radio so that, you're not dealing with the individual access as an immediate, but making sure that they can at least have access to what they have. So I guess, one, I think the issue has been highlighted, and it has to be part of the importance, not just post-recovery, but in terms of the recovery plan right now, it has to be a key policy issue. We go through collaboration, infrastructure has got to be there, and then using also some of the existing resources to make sure that no one is left behind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and also for that, very brief comment. So now we would like to ask another relevant question that came from the audience, and this one is from Mr. Sang-Yi Lau. The question is from Mr. Shokruk Avazov. He's a researcher at the Yonsei University in the Republic of Korea. So the question is, what strategies could help to promote effective public-private partnerships to promote digital government solutions in combating COVID-19 pandemic in Africa? Mr. Lau, could you provide your insights in 2 minutes, please?
Sure, 2 minutes will be. Well, in any complex issue, I think there's no simple silver bullets kind of solutions. But however, challenges of complexity in nature can often be untangled by firstly asking the right critical questions that reflects the real needs on the ground. And in our opinion, the right question to ask in this context would probably be, A, how do we encourage policymakers to move from a traditional role of command center to become the center of collaborations? And B, how do we further inculcate the culture of entrepreneurship to relentlessly build a digital infrastructure that would become the platform where future digital economy could be anchored upon? And finally, how do we transform the day-to-day habits of 1.3 billion people living in 54 countries in a continent as resourcefully rich as Africa to become a digital native? China implemented the Internet Plus national policy way back in 2015, with years of significant investments in building a nationwide digital infrastructure, and they have actually paved a strong foundation, not just for a consumer and industrial internet sector's development, but laying a very solid knowledge for digital government policies or solutions today. We also learned that the biggest obstacles for digital government solutions does not really lie upon the execution of government policies, but more importantly, if there was no competent entrepreneurs on ground within any nations that would work together to create a new types of fabrics for a new digital society, and the needle wouldn't really move. So in a nutshell, there's no one-size-fits-all strategy, but having a shared vision would probably be the best place to begin. And as I shared earlier, the positive residues of the pandemic has given rise to a newly digitalized, empowered multiplayer model in China, and all must realize there is a role to be played to build a world of common prosperity, and that probably would be the beginning of a global community with a shared future for mankind. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Lau, for highlighting the importance of a shared vision, competence, and also of how to promote a culture of entrepreneurship, and also that there's no one size fits all. Thank you very much for your insights. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the panelists for their very interesting insights, and also the audience for all their questions. Unfortunately, we are running a little bit over time, so we are coming to an end of this very, very interesting and enlightening webinar. And I would now like to invite Mr. Bokyun Shim. He's the head of the United Nations Project Office on Governance, which is part of the Division for Public Institutions and Digital Government of DESA, for his closing remarks. Mr. Shim, you have the floor.
Thank you, Adriana. I am the head of UNPOG, Bokyun Shim. I am pleased DESA, in collaboration with the partners, could co-organize this second webinar for Africa following the May webinar. Today, this webinar inspired us insights on how Africa can advance towards their aspirations and goals through solidarity and collaboration with partners such as AUDA, NEPAD, ECA, APAM, and ITU. And webinar speakers from Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, EU, Korea, and China by sharing experiences on innovative technologies. Solidarity and cooperation for Africa should be strengthened when reviewing the implications of the ICT and digital government in the COVID-19. First, this webinar made it clear that innovative technologies, including data analytics and digital government, have played a crucial role in fighting the COVID-19. Nevertheless, Africa is confronted with many challenges, in particular, the digital divide between rich and poor, between urban and rural areas, and the need for more investment in digital infrastructure to increase connectivity, accessibility, and affordability. While exploring innovative solutions to address the crisis, Africa must take a leap by promoting the ICT and the digital government. Second, the potential of innovative technology can't be leveraged without voluntary cooperation of the people. trust of the people. Only when people voluntarily comply with hygiene and health guidelines, including social distancing, can they be effective. Voluntary actions can be ensured through continuous dialogue between government and the people. Through this webinar, encouraged Africa to prepare for the upcoming paradigm shift. The non-face-to-face online culture has advanced faster than we expected due to the COVID-19. Demand for accelerating digital transformation will increase at a significant pace. For example, tele-education, telemedicine, telecommuting, and e-commerce are rapidly changing our day-to-day lives. There is an urgency for digital transformation in all fields. Effective data governance should also be established. Fourth, innovative technology, which requires vast investment, can't be exploited for low-income countries. In addition, the COVID-19 has dealt a serious blow to the African economy. Building partnerships with the private sector is being embraced in Africa. Meanwhile, global partnerships need to be strengthened. I believe this webinar will enhance the innovative capacity of Africa for building back better by leveraging the ICT and the digital government. I hope that today's webinar will not end here and that the communication will continue through questions and answers on the online discussion board on UNPOC's website. I give the floor back to Adriana. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Shim, for those insightful remarks. We have now concluded the webinar, and I would like to thank all the panelists for their time and their thoughtful interventions. I also want to thank all the participants who are connected today to this webinar. We have about 80 countries, I believe so, that are connected. We hope that the webinar was insightful and that you will also participate in our upcoming webinars and activities. We would also like to hear from you on the webinar. We will be sending an evaluation survey to hear your comments, inputs, and also future topics that you would like to address in these webinars. Our next webinar on leveraging public governance and spearheading innovative solutions to address COVID-19 will take place on 28 July, and it will focus on the Arab region, and we hope to also see you there. So once again, thank you very much, and also thank you for staying a little bit over the time. And we now conclude our session. And once again, warm round of applause for our wonderful panelists and speakers. Thank you, and have a very good day and evening. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.